What up? Welcome
Hey,
to Real Talk. Real Talk. We in here today, man. Glad y'all tuned in. I am your host for this evening, man. Carlos Vaughn, man. You know what I'm saying? So we in here on Real Talk, man, and I'm super excited today. On this Tuesday. Super excited, man. I got a special guest in here today, man. And we gonna get straight to it, man. I want to share something right before we get into it, man. I'm super excited. I had the privilege of being able to do something very uh extraordinary. It's just it blew my mind away. So on yesterday, I was able to uh let's show you guys this right quick. And I wanna put this in your face because I want you to understand how much this means to me. So on yesterday, I was able to teach my first class with a program that I have entitled Draw It Out. And I was super excited about it because the initial objective of the program was um, basic design. And so I was asked to teach fine arts. And so that's another aspect to the program that I have Draw It Out. So I was able to teach three what I call three high school seniors. I was able to teach three high school seniors and that's going to allow them to receive their credits for graduation. So teaching the fine arts, and when I did the research and study under that fine arts, it falls under the category of pretty much everything that I'm doing right now. It's literature, poetry, music, performance, cinema, also painting, sculpture, architecture. All of that fall under the category of fine arts. So I'm super excited about that. And it's just more to come with that, man. My first class, and as a matter of fact, on next week we had an introduction. So the students are normally from the schedule. They're scheduled to be out on the holiday on next Monday, which would be Martin Luther King's Day, and those kids, rather than having that day, they want to continue the class. And so
wow,
that's super exciting. I'm super
that's
excited
awesome.
about that, just to pour into these seniors that are about to enter into the real world. And I know it's a whole lot. And just from going into this about the fine arts, it made me reassess, draw it out. So now a theme that we're going with draw it out is that there's an art to everything,
Wow.
because in everything you do, there's an art to it. So what I'm doing right now, everything there's an art to it, and so I'm just excited about that. I just wanted to talk about that, but now we're going to get into the real. Let's see, we're gonna get into the meat of it. Everything in here on Real Talk today. You all know with Real Talk, we have conversation, open dialogue. So let's get to it. We have none other today than Mr. John Norwood that's joining in with us today, man. And we're gonna let him have the floor today because he's gonna talk to you guys about some things today, and the talk about that success is a setup. And so I'm gonna step down. I'm a talker. So Mr. Norwood, I already know, man. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Yes, sir.
And we can go from there, man.
Yes, sir. Well,
Yes, sir.
Carlos, first of all, let me say thank you for inviting me to your show.
Right.
It's exciting for to have the opportunity just to be here to share. And I'll say this that I've always known you to have great ideas um, that that you that you sooner or later, as time went on, you just needed to put some legs to the ideas. In other words, put some feet to the ideas
Yeah.
that you had in your head. And so I believe that at this time in your life, that that's happening right now, Carlos. And
Man.
so what you're doing is great, man. I applaud you. I
Thank you.
applaud
Thank
anyone else that's working alongside you who was making this happen. And I'm gonna tell you, you just really kind of segue into my introduction. And yes, my introduction to what I like to just talk about with you guys tonight is success is a setup. So what
you.
you're doing with those young men, you're setting them up for success, whether you know it or not. I know you know it, but
Yeah.
sometimes we don't think of it in terms of you're setting someone up for success when you take the time out to teach them, to show them, to guide them. You're setting them up for success.
Wow.
So, so tonight, really, I just want to kind of share a little bit about what I believe that I want to kind of talk about is set up yourself for success, and that may take a little reaching out to others like yourself who are doing a great job, but a lot of times it's got to start with the individual. Carlos, it's got to start with the individual.
Yeah.
An individual has to want to set themselves up for success.
Wow.
Okay, and so tonight that's what we're going to talk about: setting
Okay.
yourself up for success. And there's about kind of nine little I guess little miniature topics that I'd like to throw in there when we're talking about setting yourself up for success. And starting off first is all about your mindset.
Mm.
Mindset is the key. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There is an author by the name of Earl Nightingale. He wrote, "We become what we think about."
Wow.
Another author wrote, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their attitudes of their minds." Okay,
Oh, wow.
that Carlos, and you old enough to remember this
Wow.
one.
Wow.
On TV, they used to have a commercial come on and say, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so, so just to kind of show you how important it is, our minds are very, very important to our success in life.
Mm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and even the Bible says the book. I consider the supreme book. And Proverbs says, "For as a man thinketh in his heart,
Mm.
so is he."
Wow.
So, thinking positive thoughts will put you on the path to success.
Wow.
Okay. But sometimes in life, what happens when we begin thinking positive thoughts, something can happen on that path along the way that will cause us to detour or be taken off that path.
Mm.
And when I think about that, I think about young children, Carlos. Usually, and I know you've probably done this, like I've done it, too many times to count. When
Yeah.
you meet, young children, you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, what I've always heard, I'm sure you heard the same thing. These young kids always say they want to do something positive. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a football player. I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
a professional basketball player. You know, I want to be a fireman. Some
Wow.
might say I want to be a police. That was me. So, but as we know that not everyone, when they're that age and they have that they don't have that mindset, what has not been tainted
Mm.
yet, to do something positive. But how many know that a lot of times they don't really reach those goals or stay on that path?
Wow.
Something sometimes comes along knock them off that path. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something as small as someone coming up and telling them, hey, look, I don't think you should do that. That's not nothing that people in my family should, I don't want anybody in my family doing that. It could be something simple as that, or it could be something as tragic as someone saying, "Oh, I want to go into the military," and then they learn of one of their family members possibly getting injured or possibly killed in battle, so that could throw them off the path. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm here to tell you, that once we make up in our minds, we put our mind to set. We set our minds. Then the next thing we have to do is set our goals. Okay.
Wow.
So you have to set your mind, and your mind is like the football field, right? It's what is 100 yards, right?
Right.
But now, what is a football field without a goal? Huh?
Yeah.
If you don't have a goal, you just running up and down the field, 100 yards, no one scoring because there's no goal.
Wow.
Just watch this. So when you got your mindset, and which is your football field. Now you set your goal, which is now you say I have something to aim at, and so I'm gonna measure my success by reaching that goal.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And so goal setting is so important. That's number 2. Goal setting is so important. And so, but I'll bring your attention to this sometimes. And you've probably noticed this before, like I have. There's some people who I've noticed in life who've worked hard. I mean, the good people, they work hard, but never really seem to achieve success. You know what I'm talking about? While still there's others who seemingly, they seem like an average Joe, and they may not look like they're working hard, but when they do some things, it appears that success is upon them. They're being successful in the things they're doing.
Yeah.
And you say, well, how is that one who's working hard doesn't seem to be becoming successful, while another who may not look like he's working that hard now, but he does gain success.
Yeah.
You say, well, what is the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the biggest difference is, and this is I've been reading a book by Earl Nightingale. It's called The Strangest Secret, and in the book it talks about the biggest difference between those who succeed and those who fail is goal setting.
Wow.
There was a quote out there, and I don't know who quoted it, but I'll give whoever credit for it. But he said, "When we fail to plan, then we plan to fail."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So without a plan, and you think about it, and I'm gonna tell you, I like driving, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Carol and I, when we were young, Carlos, in 1990, 1990, we drove from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to Edmonton, Alberta.
Wow.
Okay. Now, Edmonton, Alberta is in Canada. We drove from Baton Rouge to Canada.
Wow.
Watch this. Now, we didn't just get in the car and just start driving. Because if we just got in the car and just started driving, I don't think we would have ended up in our final destination, Carlos. I really don't think so.
Wow.
So what we had to do was we had to set a goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we had to set a goal as to where we want. And Carol was a military police officer, and she prided herself on map reading. So, and this was before there was any GPSs. In 1990, we didn't have GPSs. We didn't have cell phones.
Wow.
We didn't have any of the creature comforts that we have today.
Yeah.
So we had a pencil and a map.
Wow.
But we drew the map from our beginning to where we want to end up at our final destination.
Wow.
And so that's and by the way, we reached our goal. It took us about 4 days. We reached our goal because we plotted out our course.
Wow.
And so if we would not have had taken the time to plot our course, we would not have reached our destination. So that's really, in a simplest terms I can put it, that's simply what goal setting is. Writing down where you are now today and plotting out your course where you want to end up next week, next year, 40 years from now. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what really goal setting is all about.
Wow.
You have to you have to have your mindset, set your mind, and then set your goal.
Right.
And from there, that'll put you on a path to success.
Wow. Hey man, that's good, man. And that's reminding me, man. You made me pull from talking that just then. You made me pull out a book, man. I've been reading this book, man, right here. It's called The Principle of the Path.
Yes, sir. Wow.
It's a good book, man, and it's by Dr. Andy Stanley.
Yeah.
Good read, man. And everything you just said, there was a story in that book about what you just talked about, and about it was this guy got on the road, his son, he didn't know where he was going.
Yeah.
And he got on the road and he ended up getting lost. So he tried to call his father for direction, but his dad was asking him, "Where are you? And you know what landmarks are around you, what's around you, so I can kind of figure out your location." But the son didn't know where he was, so he couldn't even get direction to where he was trying to get to, because he didn't even know where he was at. And so from me reading that story, it just made me realize exactly what you just said. And that's why this is so true, and this real talk is that if I don't sit here and come to grips with myself and say, okay, look, this is where I'm at financially, this is where I'm at spiritually, and if I can't tell nobody that, or I can't write the map down, or nobody know what direction I'm trying to go, then it's just like a lost cause. It's like nobody can give you no direction because you don't even know where you at.
Wow.
Yeah.
Carlos, you just now see, you must have been reading my notes, Carlos, because you just segued into my next two subtopics. The next one is operate in integrity.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. And so people who know you, know your character, they're gonna come to know if you're a person of integrity or that you're not. Okay. Now, here's I ain't say the funny thing, but here is a fact of life. You, as you was just talking about, you have to really kind of come to grips with yourself, or where you are financially, where you are spiritually. Okay. When we as individuals operate in integrity and say, hey, this is who I am, and this is how I operate. Okay. And not and when you operate in integrity, others will treat you with integrity. Okay. But if you operate outside of integrity, watch this, others around you will not treat you with integrity. In other words, they won't see you in the position of integrity. So therefore, they won't respect you, or they won't operate in integrity with you, more than likely. Okay. Wow. And so yeah, it's so important when you just what you said. We have to come to grips as to where we are in life, and and then and be honest, and be honest with yourself. Hey, look, I and I'll tell you, a little bit later, I had a problem with some things, and I had to come to grips with it. Okay. And then the next thing is, and this is number 4, when you realize that you have an issue, you have something that you need to tweak or you need to change, then you need to ask for wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, ask for wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, hey, so what and here's the thing, and I thought about this. Just about everything that you or I or anyone else in the world today in 2021 is thinking about doing,
Mm-hmm.
or anything we think about pursuing. Watch this. Listen, there is somebody who has who has already done it,
Mm.
or they are in the process of doing it. Okay?
Yeah.
So we, who operate integrity, realize that we don't have all the answers, so we ask for wisdom. So we're gonna go ask someone who's already in the process of doing what we want to do.
Wow.
I never forget a story. It's a true story that, as you know, Carlos, Kara, and I, we operate a business. We operate a child care business, and we have
Yeah.
been in business for over 20 years now.
Wow.
But when we started business in 2000.
Huh.
Um, we didn't know the business.
Wow.
So before we opened the business, before we opened the doors of our daycare, Kara went out and she sought wisdom. She went
Mm.
out, actually worked for a daycare to
Wow.
learn from someone who was in the business, who had been in the business for years.
Wow.
And this lady who she went and worked for taught her things about the business that she possibly would have taken up a long, long time to learn on her own.
Wow.
So asking for wisdom is key, because when she did that, that increased the chances of our business have become successful. And I attribute us being successful today, 20 years later,
Mm.
to that simple act of asking for wisdom of someone who's already in the business.
Man. Man. That's good stuff. That's real talk.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
That's real talk, man. And that's why it's good to seek, like you say, to seek wisdom, because it's a lot of things that I know, me personally, I'm not familiar with. And
Yep.
one of the things, when I was working, I was working with this lawn service, and I think this something that we have to to put out of our mind as people, when we doing certain job tasks, because
Yeah.
for some reason the owner was showing me the business from his perspective,
Yes.
and so he would always try to put me with another group, like, when you on a certain job, or you doing something, and I'm just using this as an example. It's like you got a certain title. Okay, I was so-called crew leader, and so
Okay.
in my mind, you get to a certain thing, it's just stuck in your head. Okay, I'm the crew leader. I'm managing this entire crew. They have to do what I say,
Right.
but being a man in authority, I'm still a man under authority also.
Yes,
But
sir.
what he was trying to do, he said, okay, Carlos, today I want you to work with the guys who are doing landscape. And sometimes on jobs, the first thing we say is, man, that ain't my job. You're not paying me for that, you know. But now
Yep.
that I'm doing my own, I see that if I had learned the skill,
Yep.
I could apply it to what I'm doing right now. And he always told me this. He said, I don't pay you for what you do. I pay you for what you know. And,
Wow.
and I never got out. I didn't understand it until now, but if I
Yep.
had just went to do what he asked me to do and learned
Mm-hmm.
it, I could carry that on to what I'm doing right now, you know. And so, because I know a lot of people, I'm guilty of it. I know a lot of people that did that in the early years of working. If somebody try to, you're doing a certain job on that job, and they want you to do something else that you're not familiar with, or it
Yeah.
seems like it's more work, and you like, oh man, it's not my job. That's for them to do. That's what But I learned from that. I learned a whole lot from
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So so you bring up my next area that I'm going to talk about, and
Uh,
that's admitting when you make mistakes.
wow.
So what you did was you just reasoned it out,
Mm,
that hey, look, I made a mistake.
yeah.
If the mistake what I heard you say, mistake I made was that I didn't take the time out to learn what the owner was trying to instill in me. He
Yeah.
wasn't trying to get extra work out of me. He was trying to get knowledge into me.
Mm, yeah.
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 But now that you are an owner, you realize that, hey, man,
Mm,
uh, you know, I made a mistake. But here's the good news, that
mm,
you now can become a teacher to those who come under your authority. You
yeah.
can explain that to, when you tell them, hey, look, I'm actually gonna do certain things, and it's because of this. I
Mm,
don't want to try to put more work on you, but I want to try to put more wisdom in you.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So and like I say, it's so key, man, when you admit, when we admit we make
Hmm.
mistakes, um, because without making course corrections, sometimes we make mistakes without making course corrections. We won't get to that road to success.
Yeah.
I got a quick story.
Hmm.
So as you know, I was in the Marine Corps. I tell everyone I went in the Marine Corps as a boy. I came out as a man.
Come
So
on.
yeah, yeah. So that was back, Carlos. That was back in the 1900s. We can say the
Wow.
1900s. Now I went to Marine Corps September 3rd, 1980,
Wow.
and so and I had a good run. I did 6 years. Yes, sir. The proud and the few.
Yeah.
You can call hell, but when heaven breaks loose, hey. So look, so during that time, I made some mistakes and I learned some things along the way.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna tell you, Carlos, I made one of my biggest mistakes, not while I was in the Marine Corps,
Hmm.
but when I got out of the Marine Corps 6 years later. And
Wow.
why do I say that? Um, I had learned early on, how to sort of kind of be frugal with my money. And in other words, in the Marine Corps, I was young. I was a young guy. I didn't do a lot of partying and spend a lot of money. So I saved my money, bottom line. You know.
Hmm.
And so when I got out of the Marine Corps, after 6 years, in my bank account, Carlos, I had 20K.
Wow.
I had $20,000 as a young 23-year-old man.
Man.
Okay. Now you say, well, that's great, and it was great. But here's wasn't so great. That $20,000 did not do me justice, because I didn't do it no justice. In other
Wow.
words, I didn't know anything about um, money management to the point where um, keeping telling my money where to go, as opposed to wondering where my money went. That makes
Wow.
sense.
Wow.
So when I got out of the Marine Corps, um, that $20,000
Mm,
went in different directions, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even. I did buy a car,
yeah.
and I
Yeah.
thank God I did buy a car, but I didn't even pay for the car cash. I could have paid for the car cash.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my mindset was not set up, and my goal was not set up, Carlos.
Yeah.
So so I didn't. And so my bottom line is that I made a big mistake,
Mm,
because I didn't manage that money. That money went wherever it wanted to go, and it went places where I have no idea where it went. Okay,
yeah. Yeah.
but look, here it is, 30 plus years later.
Mm,
Um, that God is blessed. And I first I give God glory for this.
Yeah. That's
Um,
it. That's it.
that me and my family, we are financially independent.
Wow.
Okay. What do I mean by financially independent? Which means that everything we own, the houses, the cars, the businesses, the properties, we owe no one nothing.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
That's it.
And so, you know,
Man.
when you live a life of not owing anyone anything,
Mm.
um, then that is the definition of financial independence.
Wow.
Independence. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So you say, well, how did you get from being a knucklehead, not knowing where your $20,000 went, to
Mm.
30+ years later, being financially independent
Mm-hmm.
and and managing your money? Well, when I made a mistake, I sought knowledge, I sought wisdom,
Wow.
and when I sought the wisdom, I didn't just get it and let it go in one ear and come out the other. I actually sat down and I took it to heart.
Mm.
Those things that I learned from those who went before me, who were better at managing money and better at um, looking down the road at a future and making the determination where I want to be, not just for the day, but where I
Mm.
want to be 30, 40 years down the road.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah,
Man.
I admitted I made mistakes, but I learned from mistakes. Okay,
Wow.
and and I made what I made a correction.
Yeah. Man, that's much needed for me right now, man. I mean, man, thank you. I mean, I needed to hear that, man.
Yes,
I,
sir.
uh, because I mean, that's just being, with real talk. Oh my goodness. And I'm just sitting here, and a lot of people know, man, for me being on here, it take a whole lot for me to be quiet because I'm a talker, and so I know when it's some good stuff, I'm finna listen.
Yes,
And
sir.
you use the word frugal, because I had this this thing every year, working on a job, and then I look at the end of the year and they give me my final uh pay stub, and I look at all the money that I made, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting there like, man, where this went? Where did this go to? I'm like, I made this much and I don't see nothing from it. But one of the things I a guy, he was a black business owner. I talked to him about that word frugal one time because I was reading in this book, and that was a that word would, to be honest with you, was never in my vocabulary. I never had heard of the word or anything, But then when I found out about it, I asked him
Yeah.
about it, and he told me. He said, and this guy, big house, cars, all type of stuff. And I asked him about the word frugal, and he told me. He said, man, you know what, young man? He said, not too many young men that of your color that got that word in their vocabulary, that
Wow.
asked me something like that. And he said,
Yeah.
me and my family, we pretty frugal. And he said, sometimes, me and my wife will go back to our hometown and we might ride in the Mercedes Benz. And we see some of our old high school classmates and stuff like that. And he said, one thing that you said earlier, mindset.
Yeah.
And he said, when they see us in the car, it's not that we showing off, it's, this is our vehicle. We want to ride in
Yes.
this. And
Right.
so he said, one of their high school friends will come up to him and ask him and say, man, how much you paid for that car? And then when they tell him the price, he said the first thing they'll say is like, man, I can't see myself paying that kind of money for that. And he said, that's it. He said, because if you can never see it,
Mm-hmm.
you can never
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah.
And I said, man, and I took those words that guy said, you know, and I'm gonna have to, man, I'm gonna be reaching out more, because
Yeah.
me, as far as with finances and things like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is an area that I want to improve in a whole lot,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
because success, I had that question when I looked up a lot. Is like, what's the definition of success? Because a lot of people look at success as, different things. And the illustration that you gave with the football field, man, we don't have no goals, man. I think that's real important. I think paper and pen real important. Writing things down, and
Absolutely.
yeah, it's real important. So,
Yes,
man,
sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah,
Well, look,
yes,
I'm gonna tell you, Carlos, and we, and it's no fault of our own a lot of times, but
uh,
we tend to struggle. I don't say we, as a race, as a people, we tend to struggle in an area, usually because we're not taught, that hey, you work to a certain point and then you retire.
mm,
And I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of people that I knew growing up, older people, Carlos, they worked until they died. They didn't work. They didn't.
yeah, yeah.
Retirement was death.
This was
You
death.
know what I'm talking about? Retirement was death, or retirement was they worked to the point where they could not function anymore at work, and then they relied upon the system. And
Mm,
again, I don't fault them because it's lack of knowledge.
yeah,
And it goes back to the word. Everything goes back to the biblical principles. When you talk about finances,
yeah,
because the word says that the borrower is slave to the lender. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that people perish for the lack of knowledge.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah.
if you don't, and there's another book I've been reading, and it says, and you know, I'll talk about this more, but it talks about compound interest.
Mm,
And so that's one thing you really, really need to get a hold of to learn the ins and out of compound interest.
wow.
Because in this book, and I quote this author, he says, those who don't, I'm sorry, those who know about compound interest
Mm,
earn it.
wow.
Those who don't know about compound interest pay it.
Wow.
Yeah. So those who
Wow.
don't know, I'm sorry, those who do know, they're going to earn it from us, or those who don't know about it. Okay.
Wow.
But the problem is, it's a principle that works for anyone who applies it. Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing is, you talked about, how, the word frugal. And
Mm,
it's, to me, the simple definition is willing to um, do whatever you need to do, live in a manner that no one else is willing to live like,
mm,
until you reach your goal that you set. And then once you reach your goal you set, then you can live like you want to live. Dave Ramsey
wow.
put it like this. He say, live like no one else, so
Mm.
later you can live like no one else.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
that's what he
like
said.
that. I
And
like
watch
that.
this. Carlos got full of stories. So if you get tired of my stories, let me know.
Uh,
But so so I I just got to tell you that when we were in our season of being frugal, okay,
mhm,
or living like no one else,
yeah.
in other words, not doing what the masses doing. And I'm not saying the masses doing anything wrong. For instance, on Sundays,
Mm-hmm.
usually usually families go out to dinner on Sundays. They
Yeah.
don't want to cook at home.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, look, I've been working all week. I've been cooking all week. Sunday we're gonna go out and we're gonna just celebrate. We're not going to cook at home. Let's go out and we're gonna spend some money and buy us Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
Well, that's all well and good if you've already met your goals.
Right.
But if you've got some goals to meet, then you may want to live like no one else and say, you know what? I could go out to Sunday dinner and spend $80. And I'm gonna tell you, for me, I'm from a family of four, four kids and a wife. So, when we go to McDonald's, we spending $40, $50. So,
right.
so watch this. So whenever, years ago when we were being frugal, and that's been 20 plus years, we did it for about 20 plus years. We were kind of like the brunt of the jokes. On Sunday afternoons when everybody's leaving out the parking lot, going to their vehicles, they're excited because they was getting ready to go to Golden Corral. They're getting ready to go to Ryan's. They're getting ready to go to the Chick-fil-A, Church's Chicken, wherever it's going. I don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
They were going somewhere. Some may be going to Ruth Chris. I don't know.
Yeah.
But wherever it's going, they was excited about doing it because this was their outlet.
Yeah.
And they will spend that money religiously on Sundays. Okay. Well, what we did in the Norwood house, we took that money that we would have been spending out there on restaurants, that $60, $80, and we saved it and we invested it.
Wow. So
if for instance, if you have, I'm gonna just say I'm gonna make it easier for round figures, and that's not for a fetch for me and my family. So if we would save that $100 that we would spend on Sunday dinner, for 4 times in a month, that's $400.
Wow.
Okay, so if I take 400, if I save $400 per month, I'm going to get over $4,000 at the end of the year.
Wow.
If I invest $4,000 every year, and I got an average rate of return of 10% on an average rate of return, compound interest.
Wow.
And in 40 years, we would be financially independent.
Wow.
And in fact, and if you invested over 40 years, that it puts you in a millionaire status.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
So all the dinners that we missed for 20, 30 years, when the people were like laughing saying the Norwood's going to eat beans and rice at their house, we did it. We did it for a purpose. There was a goal. There was a plan behind it. And we lived like no one else back then. So now, if I want to go out and I'm thanking God that we're in a position to do so, because we're financially independent. We owe no one. If I want to go out and eat dinner every Sunday from the rest of my life, I won't look at my pocketbook and say I can't pay my light bill or water bill. So in other words, that won't hurt my pocket at all.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
And so it goes to my next. I just got 3 more little points to cover, and one is exercising the will to change, or exercising the willpower to change. So when we were young, and I threw away I'm gonna just say it like it really was, Carlos. I'm gonna just be honest, be real. Yeah. I just kind of threw away my $20,000, when I got out of the Marine Corps. Yeah. And I learned a lesson, because I never wanted that to happen to me ever in life again. And I learned that lesson. I had the willpower to change the course of my life. But not only did I change the course of my life, I changed the course of my children's lives, because they now operate in a way that they will not struggle in life, because I've taught them principles to live by. Wow. Now they're going to have to work hard. They're going to have to invest. They got to save. They got to give. Yeah. but we put principles before them, and if they operate in these principles, then when they become our age, 55, 60 years old, they too will be financially independent. So when I had the willpower to change the course of my life, I changed the course of my generations that's going to go on after me.
Wow. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Man. Man.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. It's good
And,
stuff.
and yes, sir. And look, we have to be willing to do the right thing. We have to operate integrity, and that's the true definition of integrity is to do the right thing when no one's watching. We can do the right thing when somebody's watching. When the boss watching us, we can have that weed eater out there. We can be doing a great job when the boss watching us. But the boss ain't watching us. We can go inside, go skip on the tree and drink Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
So, but but we have to always fight to do the right thing, and and that's regardless of what or how bad you want something. Some people, if they see something they want, they say, "Man, I want that car. Or I want that watch." Whatever the case may be, it could be anything. If they put their eyes on, they covered it. They say, "Man, I'll do anything, to have that, or I'll do anything to have that type of job." Okay, or the job I wanted. But we always have to be mindful that we should never compromise to achieve any goal. Okay, we should never compromise to get anything we want out of life.
Wow.
We should never try to do anything immoral or unethical in order to achieve our goals. Okay, now I got one last story I'll tell you, and it's a true story. As many of you know, I'm a Baton Rouge City police officer of 30 years, and
Yes, sir.
so I did my 30 years and I retired. But recently, I signed back on to go back and work as a reserve. So I'm going to go out and help the guys out who are still in the trenches a little bit now.
Yeah.
The good news is that I can go when I want, I can leave when I want, and so that's So I'm not obligated to do all nighters anymore.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I had a goal for, Carlos, and I set myself up for the obtain this goal was as a police officer, I wanted to be the best police officer I could be. I wanted to do the most important job that I could do, and I enjoyed working in what they call uniform patrol. I did it to the best of my ability. And again, it was something that brought me satisfaction. But after about 12, 13 years of working in uniform patrol, I said, well, I want to be able to do something else. And then something else was I wanted to be a detective, and I wanted to work in the homicide division. So what I did was I went to school. Okay, I had a goal, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing I did was I want to reach that goal. So I started doing things to put myself in a position to reach that goal. So I went back to school and I got my degree. In fact, I didn't just get one degree. I got 2 degrees. I got an associate in criminal justice, and I went back and got a bachelor's in sociology.
Wow.
All for the purpose of finishing what I started. That's number one. I wanted to finish what I started. Number 2, I really wanted to set myself up. Okay, because I had a mindset that the more I can educate myself, then the more that I could set myself to get the position of becoming a detective. And so once I finished my degree, lo and behold, the interview there was an interview process for those guys like myself who wanted to become a detective. And of course, when the time came, I put my name in the hat to be interviewed, and when I was called, I went and I sat down before the people who were interviewing me, and I was excited, Carlos. I was like, "Hey, here's my chance to shine."
Yeah.
Well, Here is what I found. When I walked in the office, I was greeted by the people who was in charge of then the homicide division,
Mm-hmm.
and they began to tell me what would be expected of me if I was allowed to become a homicide detective.
Wow.
And the man told me, he said, "Look," he said, "if we decide to allow you to come into our homicide division," he says that you will have to make this your all.
Wow.
He said that nothing else should matter to you, with the exception of you coming and doing the job that you've been appointed to do in this division.
Mm.
And he says you have to give it your all in all. He said even to the point where you have to forsake your family.
Wow.
And then he went on to tell me, Carlos, he said, and from his mouth to my ears,
Mm.
he said, and I got a wife and kids at home. And the next phrase that he said put me in a position to where I knew what I was going to do next. He said, "My wife and my kids at home hate me."
Wow.
He said, "Because I've decided that this is the job I want to do, and this is a very, very important job." And he said, if we take you into this division, he said, your wife and your kids will also hate you.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
looked at this man in amazement. Now, all of my excitement about, hey, I want to be a detective. I didn't work hard. I didn't got my degrees. I got my education ready.
Mm.
It's been diminished. But I'm gonna just tell you, um, I had to muster up the strength, but I
Yeah.
did. You know, I had to let him know who I was, and that I wasn't willing to compromise. I say, "Sir," he said, I told him, I said, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to interview. And I told him, I say, and yes, I do want to be a detective. And I put myself in a position to become a detective. I say, but I told him this, and I quote, I say, "Sir, but I will not make this job my God."
Wow. Wow. Come on.
And I say, "I have a wife and kids in my house who love me.
Mm.
I refuse to make this job my God." Well, you know what happened next, Carlos? This is the man in charge. He say, "Thank you, sir. That will be all." I said,
Yeah.
"Thank you, and have a nice day, and have a
Yeah.
nice life." And I walked out the door. Look, I didn't, and I said in my mind when I walked out the door, I say, they will never, ever call me to come and be a detective in that division. Well, watch this. Here's the thing about operating in integrity and fighting to do the right thing. I went back in uniform patrol for the next few years. I worked and I excelled in the job that I was doing out there. I wasn't disgruntled about that, them not taking me. I just worked as hard as I could, and I became the best uniform patrol officer I could be.
Yeah.
And then within 3 years, I was called by someone else who was in the office. And he asked me, he said, "John, are you still interested in coming to the homicide division?" And I simply told him, I said, "Man, look," I said, "Yeah," I say, "but," I say, "those people are not going to accept me down there. I'm not the one who's
Yeah.
going to compromise my position just to get in a position."
Yeah.
He said, "John," he said, those persons who interviewed you are now gone. He said, "I want you to come and interview if you're still interested.
Wow.
And let me tell you this: you just come interview, and then we'll go from there." Well, I said, "Okay." I interviewed, and Carlos, long story short, I got in the homicide division.
Come on.
And now, not only did I get in there, Carlos, watch this. And this is, I attribute this to God. So, I worked in the homicide division for 16 years
Man.
of my 30, to the point where I became a supervisor in the homicide division, a sergeant, and then later I was promoted in the homicide division many years later to a lieutenant. Mm. And later I was promoted to the commander of the homicide division, the same position that the guy who shot me down said that, hey, your wife and kids will hate you because you come in here. I took the position and surpassed him where he was.
Wow.
In that division. So I did not have to compromise my position or who I was to get in a position, because as long as you operate in integrity and you fight to do what's right, something good is always going to come out of that. And I say, in my case, I became the homicide commander. Wow. Position I never really thought about or aspired to become. I just wanted to be a detective. Yeah. But I was a division commander. And wow. and the last thing, it just it just comes down to just believing in yourself. I believed in my heart of hearts that I was good for the division. And I set myself up, and I had did my homework, and I had put myself in a position to where I would be a good detective. However, when that opposition came, I wasn't willing to lay down and compromise just because I wanted it. To the point where I gave up who I was to become someone that I didn't want to be. So, but I believed in myself all the time that I was good for that position. So, and so we have to always be mindful of those who come along with limitations and try to put limitations on us. I don't ever let people. Well, we should never let people put limitations on us. We should aspire to do those things that we aspire to do. And we should never give up. Never, ever, ever give up.
Man. Come on, man. Oh man. Say, man, there's so much. I'm sitting here quiet. So I'm soaking it up, man, and I hope that all of the listeners, man, soaking this up, man, because this is real talk, man. This is it's got to be one of the best episodes, man, that I had thus far, man, with the wisdom and the knowledge that's being shared on here tonight.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
man, it's just some amazing stories, man. There's so much that I could take from this and use, and I'm most definitely, even after the edit, I'm gonna go back and check this out, and because it's some good stuff in here, man. And we just gonna keep it going. I appreciate you so much, man, for being in here on Real Talk. And I know we can go for hours and hours with this. I can sit here and listen for hours and hours,
I got stories for hours and hours too.
And with all that being said, there was a saying someone told me one time at the seminar I went to at LSU, and the guy was telling me to employ my money. Wow. That I have to put it to work, and because if I don't put it somewhere or put it to work or give it instructions, it's going, you looking there, it's like
it's gonna go with it. It's like a stray dog. It's gonna run off.
Yeah. Yeah. So man, we glad to have you on Real Talk, man. Like I said, this is Mr. John Norwood, man, and man, that success is a setup. That's a good topic. That's something for you to take and to run with. It was just good stuff for everybody, man. Glad to have you on the show, man. Hope to have you back real soon with some more knowledge for these people and for me too, because I learned a whole lot. I was scrambling, like trying to get my notepad. I was like, man, I got to get my phone. I got to put something down in, and I know I took me some notes on here tonight, man. But man, we appreciate you, and thank you for being on Real Talk, man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I enjoyed it. And I'll be glad to come back again.
Oh, no problem, man. All right, bro.
Appreciate it.
Peace out.
All right, brother.